All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Glad to see
Henry,
you. Hey, Linda, how are you?
thank you.
Glad to see you, everybody here smiling. I'm Henry Meyer from Miami-Dade County Extension Office. And this is the Florida First Detector virtual workshop. Unfortunately, everything is virtual right now, but hopefully it's going to be face-to-face in the future. So we're going to have fun today. We're going to learn many things, invasive species identification, sample submission, and DDIS. I bet anybody knows what DDIS means. That means a distance diagnostic identification service. So that's very important service that the University of Florida has for us. So we can, identify invasive pests and diseases. Remember, this in South Florida, we have a new one or maybe two new pests every month. So that's an amazing number. So this is why this is very important, because everybody can help with the identification. So we are going to spend a lot of time here doing identification, and that's key for a good management. For CEUs, this is 2 CEUs for pesticide holders and 2.5 CEUs for FNGLA. The only thing that you need to do, guys, is be active. We're going to have a lot of hands-on demonstrations, virtually, of course, and you need to participate in the activities. So that's very important. Have fun also is very important for us. All we are learning here with these activities. So this is a must. So let me try to introduce Shannon McCamis. She's the brain behind all this, and she put this together. I mean, this is amazing what she's doing. She's a graduate research assistant for the doctorate of plant medicine program at the University of Florida in Gainesville. So still she's studying her Ph.D. And well, she put all this together. So this is a lot of effort, guys. So Sharon, thank you very much. And all yours.
Thank you, Henry. Yeah, I'm super excited to put on today's workshop, and especially in Miami, where you guys get a lot of pests. So I'm really glad that we were able to put on a workshop. And I'm just going to take a couple minutes to introduce our speakers today. The first, we have Dr. Amanda Hodges, who is the director of the Florida First Detector program and also director of the Doctor of Plant Medicine program. And she'll be going over DDIS today and sample submission. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Dr. Hodges?
No, I'm just really excited to be here with everyone today. It's great to see some familiar faces and also the wonderful people of Miami-Dade County. This is just a wonderful opportunity, and we're excited to be here. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for, and we really appreciate Miami-Dade County Extension hosting this session.
Thank you. And our first speaker today is going to be Dr. Lily Pujol, and she's actually the CAPS survey specialist for the South Florida region, and she'll be talking about the different ways that pests arrive in Florida. But we also are going to hear from Henry Meyer, who will be talking about lethal bronzing. And then we have Dr. Marco Shiavon, who is an assistant professor at the Fort Lauderdale Research and Education Center, and he'll be talking today about some different turf diseases. And like Henry mentioned earlier in the we'll be having a couple different breakout groups today. And so we'll be taking our first one here in a couple minutes for like a little icebreaker. But I just also wanted to introduce the group leaders, which we have Laura Vasquez, who is the Miami-Dade urban horticulture agent. And we have Brad Danner, who is the CAPS state survey coordinator. And then we have Sarah Tafel, who is a undergraduate student at UF working in the biological research and education lab. And then we also have Trevor Forsberg, who also graduated from UF. And so they're going to be in your groups today. And when you're in these breakout groups, the first one's just an icebreaker to introduce yourself and get used to muting and unmuting. So just try to stay muted when the presenter's speaking in this main group, but in your breakout groups, feel free to unmute. We'll be recording today's lecture so that you can listen back later on. And so the sound quality is important for that. If you have any questions for speakers, then you can put them in the chat during the presentation, or you can ask them afterwards. We'll have time for questions and questions after each presentation. And I think that's about it that I have to go over. So we're just going to take 5 minutes. And we'll just go in to do a quick icebreaker for 5 minutes and ask, just get to know each other and get used to the being over Zoom. And so we won't be doing an activity for this first icebreaker, and we'll just be doing a, we'll just getting to know each other and get used to muting and unmuting.
Welcome back, everyone. I know that was really rapid, but we'll have a little bit more time the next time in. That was just to get you accustomed to the process of joining a group. We have some really exciting group activities. I think we're going to have fun in the group activities. And since other counties have had fun, I expect Miami-Dade will have even more fun because it has to be the most energetic county in the state. I mean, you're home to Miami, great beach weather, although now you're on your computer. And you have more invasive species that come in than anywhere else. So you're the experts, right? We should be asking you questions, and we may. So with that, Shannon, are you back already?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
And I will go ahead and hand it off to Lily, who will be talking about some different pathways that pests can get to Miami and then the rest of Florida through there.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to this presentation. It's going to be my first time in this kind of meetings. I mean, doing the presentation. So excuse me to be the younger things in here. Okay. We're going to talk today about some of the pests and the pathway that we have specifically in the Monroe County. According to this workshop. So we're going to start saying, as my supervisor says last time, we are like a very important state for pests and disease and weeds. And why is so many in Florida? It's just because we have many of these situations here, like 30 ports of entry, many private marines, and over there on 85 percent of plants import grew to United States go through Miami. Over than 6 million tons of perishable cargo center in Florida each year. Nearly than 50 million people visiting each year, and I'm going to say more than that, a 20% increase in 10 years. And we have a diverse ethnic communities in our state. And our climate, as Amanda says before, our climate for beaches is also very good for pests and disease and weeds, because we have a subtropical and also the tropical with a diverse host plants, hurricanes, incidents, and many factors that help for the high incidence of pests and disease in our state. Seeing this very close, we can see in numbers that we have in Miami. Last year we have the 55% of fruits and vegetable imports through Miami. That's a lot into the United States. And to have an idea, in our last meeting for BTAC, the Biological Threat Advisory Group, to have an idea in numbers, we have only in 1 month, we have more than 128,000 shipments in last month, and we have more than 3 million notified plants coming only through the port of entrance in Miami area. So that's a lot, plants coming into the United States. Also through Miami, we have the 88% of the whole flowers that get into the United States. And to have a better idea, more than a picture can be talk louder than more than words. So that's one of the normal picture that we can have in one of the ports for one single day. And we are having now the rush for the Mom's Day. So this is going to happen now in our ports and airports and all these port of entrance environs. So you can see for yourself how big is this import. This is a big important aspect to have to take in account when we talk about pest incidents in our state. Other picture that talks louder than words is this one. As you can see, I was talking conservatively about only 50 million persons coming into our state, but actually in 2019, we have like 125 millions of persons. Now, this is less because the coronavirus, of course, but even though it's high, it's like 75 million of persons getting into our state. And many of these persons bring fruits, smuggling fruit from their country with the same isoclimatic conditions, with pests that doesn't have any or few biological controls, natural biological controls in our territory, so can be successful. The spread could be super successful in our state. And also we have many of these host plants also in our state. So early detection is going to be a main role in our job, because increased likelihood of successful eradication allows regulatory restriction to be implemented, and let's say buys time for research. And we're going to leave this in hold, and we're going to take this again at the last of the presentation with the vivid example that we just already have. And Amanda Hodge was one of the protagonists of this, of this example. So my organization that I belong, Cooperative Agriculture Pest Survey, CAPS, our mission is to survey targets that may include plant, disease, insects, weeds, nematodes, and other invertebrate organisms that are not still here or can be also a threat. And we have to surveillance, detection, and monitoring of these exotic plant pests in agriculture and natural plant resource before become established. That's our mission. And so we are like the second line of defense. The first one is in ports and all these first port of entrance. And we are like the second one, those plant pests and diseases that have eluded this first line. in our ports of entries. And surveys are necessary to safeguard our nation, agricultural and natural resource by detecting early pest infestation or introductions and facilitating foreign trade. So we do inspections in high-rise sites, like in ports of entry, in packing house, in distribution centers, in campgrounds, in experiment station, in nurseries, in botanical gardens, and all these lists that we have here. We need to be sure that since this introduction pathway, since the point of entry until the destination commodity, be monitoring, and we are sure that we don't have any of this. Okay, good. So this is the work plan that we have on this year, 2020-21. And this is our current service that we do. We having separately in different sections, like exotic wood-boring bark beetles. That's the one that is taking care about, as his name implying, for the beetles. Then we have another, like a survey that is more, it's different, it's a combination of different pests. And this is a list that we have here. Brad Dane was talking about this in last presentation, so I'm not going to be so deep in this way. We also have the corn survey with all this list of pests and small grain survey. The ones that are highlighted in yellow, those are the ones that are going to be talking today, because the incidence in the Monroe County and because the host plan that we have in that territory. So these are the pictures of some of the targets of the pest. We're going to see here about the cotton seed book. We are going to talk about a little bit of this. We're going to talk about a little bit of Lycoma delicatula also, and we're going to talk about a little bit more on other ones that we have in other in our list. So how we do this survey? We can do this survey through some traps that are used with female sex pheromones and attracts male only. And also we have traps that use the attraction due to the colors. And for example, the wing trap and the bucket trap and the lingering funnel trap and the delta trap are using these females sex pheromones, but the yellow cylinder trap and the sticky board that you can see in the bottom of the picture, it's only using colors and lights. Other kind of survey that we do, it's the visual surveys that, as the name implies, is only through our visual abilities. And we not only do surveys in agriculture area, we also do surveys in natural area places. And that's what we must have in common in Monroe County. So we do in botanical gardens, state parks, in county parks, and these habitats are unique and often are unexplored for studies. Also, usually not sprayed for pests. So sometimes we can find pests that we may not be looking for, but are already here. So it is important for us too. Let's go inside now to the pests that we are more concerned in Monroe County. And we start talking about cotton seed bug, Oxycarenos yalinipenis, which is an Amictera in the Dade. And it's a black insect with translucent white wings, as you can see, are very tiny with 4 or 5 millimeter in size. Their main hosts are plants from Malvaceae family, like cotton, okra, and hibiscus. We have a lot of cotton in Monroe County, and also hibiscus, and has been found worldwide, including also North America. As you can see in the photo in the middle is the way that you can see it as through naked eyes, and it's very tiny. It's very tiny seed bug. Has been intercepted since 1985 in U.S. ports of entry, at least 264 times. And in Miami has been intercepted in plants from Israel, Pakistan, Gambia, South Africa, Honduras, and Haiti. It's arrived mostly in baggage on fruits, leaves, and flowers, and has been intercepted in plants in 40 families and 74 genera, not necessarily their hosts, and many of them in flowers. That's very interesting. So how we do this? We do through these general visual observations. As you can see, it's a very tiny insect to see. And we have in this moment actually 138 spots for visual surveys in the South Florida Keys. All are being negative so far now. And we have in many of the state parks in Danny Johnson, Pinnacum, Long Key, Lyndon Vide, and Fort Sahari Taylor Park also. I would like to talk also of one of the diseases that we are taking care in one of our small service, a special service like cotton blue disease, because it's in cotton also, and we have the presence of this wild cotton is very wide in Monroe County. So this cotton blue disease is an emerging disease of cotton in the United States, and the virus is transmitted between susceptible cotton varieties by Apis gossypii. This guy that we have here. And the virus is taken up by the aphid during feeding and remains with the insect for a few weeks. Disease spread is favored by conditions which are suitable for aphid reproduction, feeding, and spread. And leaf cotton stalks continue to test positive and are possible hosts for this disease. And one Alabama extension plant pathologist said that this plant here, henbit, Laximium amplesicauli, that we have in the screen, is a common winter weed that has test positive also, and it's also likely a host. So that's why we bring in here just in case. It's good everybody saw this picture. The CBD, another similar leaf roll disease, are known to occur in Benin, Chad, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, and Serre, as well as in Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay. Also has been described from Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and Armenia, and as well from the Philippines and Thailand. 3 CLRDV genotypes have been reported throughout the world: the typical, the atypical, and the North American CLRDV from Alabama. CLRV was detected and is now in different neighbor state that we have from Florida, like Kansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, North Carolina, and in Florida and Texas also. In Florida, in 2019, was reported and with prevalence in Gadsden, Jefferson, and Santa Rosa County. The symptoms of this disease are an intense green or bluish color of leaf, as you can see here in the picture. Sorry, I touched this by mistake. The veins and the petioles can becoming dark red purple, and the yellowing of the minor veins also is one of the characteristics. The zigzag stem habits, shortened internodes and many branches, and flowers and balls, of course, are fewer and smaller than normal. So if you see something looking like this, please give us a call. In last year, we have 9 positive in Indian River County, but the remaining 126, which are most distributed in the South Florida Keys, were negative. At north in Alachua County were 2 negative reports on Roselle hibiscus, which is this plant that the picture is in here. Hibiscus adarifa, which is a very common hibiscus that we use for make tea and other things. But it has been reported as an asymptomatic host by different sources. So it's interesting to know the presence could be also in there, even if we don't see the symptoms. Let's talk now about the beetles. This survey was, as you know, Florida is a major trade hub and receives cargo in crates or in pallets by rail, sea, and air from all over the world, putting in a high risk for the introduction and establishment of exotic wood-boring insects. So surveys are doing and monitor are doing in our high-risk areas that pose the greatest risk of introduction and establishment of exotic wood-boring insect via infested wood or wood packing material. And we do emphasize in campgrounds and natural areas, green areas around ports and disturbed areas, for example, natural areas, disaster areas. So we have many of these in Monroe County. I mean, many campgrounds, many natural areas, and etc. We normally do this surveys through this lingering funnel trap with this. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about now the ambrosia beetle with this Platypus carcivorus, Eccoleoptera. It's one of the things that we are looking of in Monroe County, and it's also spread by wood packing material and also logs and firewood in our many of the campground places that we have. These are one of the actual active monitoring places in North Key Largo, and we have more in Key West in Fort Zachary. We also have pine processionary moth, Thaumatopoeia pithiocampa, which is a Lepidoptera. Even if it's not a beetle, it's also in this survey, in the EWBB survey, because have the same pathways of the beetles. So it's a pest that attack mainly Cedrus and Pinus, and it's a very defoliator of pine. The damage is by larvae feeding on the foliage in these host trees, and it's causing a significant growth reduction through needle consumption, especially in young trees. These are the distribution of pine in United States, and as you can see, we have also green spots of pines in our county of concern now, Monroe County. So we have to see that. One other of the visual that we have is this beautiful spotted lanternfly, Lycoma delicatula. It's the host list is expensive. Many host records in the literature do not provide evidence of feeding or damage, making it difficult to differentiate between a true host and associated plant. But mainly we can find it in grapes. I know this is not a normal host in South Florida, but sometimes many people have grapes in their yard, and also in China berry is also an Alianthus altissima, tree of heaven. Those two we have with more incidents in the state and in the county. So this is how they look when are doing their the normal habit in trees. So please, if you see something like this, but it's frequently confused with the oleander moth. Can you see the difference when you have the sprayed wings? Oleander moth is more black and white pattern, and the adult of Lycoma delicatula have more red in one of the wings. So it's a little bit different, but when you see flying, it's hard to see the difference. So that's one of the things that normally happens. People confuse that with the oleander moth. And now, as I said before, I'm going to do a whole, when we're saying about buying time for the research, this is one of the case that I would like to talk, the black bean bug, Brachyplatis subaenus. This is a Coleopterus 2, which was first occurred was in China. And then in 2016, the first report was in Panama. And after that, we have interception in Miami area in 2016, but never was inside of the territory. Then the spray was growing through other neighbor countries of Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Dominican Republic. And in 2020, we have the first record of this pest in Miami area, in Miami Beach, actually. And was through a person that was a member of iNaturalist website. And then Amanda Hodge and their team were in contact with the person, and they identify as the Brachyplatus subaenus. So we get in contact, we all get in contact, and now we are having a successful biological control program for this pest, which is very polyphagous, and we have many of the hosts, because it's a host of this, where we found it in Canavalia rosea, which is a legume that is very common in our coastal environments. And also we have in Monroe County, and also we have many of the hosts are the rest of the legumes, like Canavalias, beans, and these are how they look in different stage, and the mass of eggs. And as I said before, these are many of the hosts that we have for this pest, like Phaseolus, Cajanus cajan, Glycine max, soybean, Bigna, and of course the Canavalia rosea, that I would like to do emphasis, because we have also that we have many of Crotularia also in the Keys. So it's something that we need to look after because it's a very polyphagous pest. And that's why we say, why it's time for research. Now we are having a successful biological control for this. So it's very important for us, the contact with all of you. If you see something, anything is out of the ordinary, or you see more cotton size or something weird, please give us a call or send us an email. Well, this is everything that I have for today. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I'm here for any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lily. It's great to hear about all this stuff going on in Miami-Dade and South Florida. If anybody, can you guys hear me okay? I've got a new headphone and headset here.
Seem to hear you fine.
Awesome. Okay, if you do have any questions for Lily, go ahead and put them in the chat and she'll be able to answer them in the chat. But we're gonna go ahead and move into our next presentation, which is Dr. Amanda Hodges, and she'll be talking about DDIS and what that stands for and some sample submission.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I'm so excited to be here with everybody. It's really, really great to talk about DDIS. Can you hear me? Great.
Yes.
I see some thumbs up. Thank you, Henry. You know, it's not quite the same. Normally, maybe I would be giving this talk while you were having some wonderful, like, local Cuban cuisine, but here we are on the camera instead. I think I really look forward to getting back to the actual in-person sessions. The other thing that we do sometimes with some of the pests that we were talking about that Dr. Pujol was discussing, sometimes we'll actually go out and we'll actually do a pest walk, and we really have some hands-on time with pests when we have our in-person sessions. But you're going to get your hands on in your breakout group. So it's not quite the same, but it is COVID safe. And so that's what we're doing right now. And another way we can be really safe and proactive in looking for some of these invasive pests is using our Distance Diagnostic and Identification System, DDIS. How many of you can either put in the chat or maybe use your reaction button? Have some of you heard of DDIS before or not? Some have, some are reacting, some maybe have not. But this is available really to really help connect you to your county. You know, your county extension faculty contact. You can submit samples directly to them through DDIS, and then they can potentially correspond with other specialists in our system as well. So it creates kind of a database of where you can submit potential insects or plant diseases or weeds that you may have a question about. So it really becomes a great database for that. We have some really interesting photographs on DDIS that may be useful for you to compare whatever bug or plant pathogen or problem that you have with your plant with that photograph that's in the system. So you basically submit a sample, and then many of the insects, for example, can be readily identified by Lyle Buss, our insect identifier in Gainesville. And so once he receives that image, if it makes it all the way to him, he can tell you what it is and send you some information from one of our EDIS extension fact sheets on what to do to manage it. And so it's really a great system for kind of screening problems and really determining what might be the issue with your plants. Now, if it is something that's new or exotic and potentially invasive, we would need a physical sample to actually confirm that identification. And then the other part that kind of Lily was talking about is we would then also need to get an official regulatory confirmation as well. When we do have new pest problems, including insects, diseases, weeds, anything, we have to have those officially reported through regulatory channels by state law. And so most of your pests are probably things that you already have in your garden, and you just need to know what it is and how you want to control it. or in your field if you're a grower. And it's really just a great system to kind of get that image out there and get that pest identified. So DDIS is really helpful. Most of the samples coming in to DDIS will be your typical extension samples that are really some of the common pests or less common pests, and you just need to know what it is so that you can properly identify it. It's really important that you do identify the pest in terms of what it is, because sometimes even the species that the pest is can make a difference in terms of how you manage it, how you control it, and what you can actually do about it. The sample types you can submit include plant diseases, insects, plant and weed ID. You can also ask plant management questions and also livestock related questions as well. I will emphasize though that with plant diseases, sometimes we can't tell what it is from the photograph. Sometimes we may be able to tell what it is from the photograph, but oftentimes that will require a physical sample submission to a plant diagnostic laboratory. And so actually, I'm sure you're already familiar with the Tropical Research and Education Center Plant Disease Clinic near Miami, right there in Homestead. So you're probably already familiar with that plant disease clinic. We also have a plant disease clinic that's managed by Dr. Carrie Harmon in Gainesville. But when you do need to submit that plant disease sample to that next level, often that's going to include a need to actually pay a $40 fee for processing the sample, because there is quite a bit of cost involved in actually identifying those plant diseases from a molecular perspective. So we do have some vouchers for those of you that are participating today. Shannon's going to talk a little bit more about how you can use a sample voucher to help offset the cost if you do practice submitting a sample after this first detector training. And so to become a user of DDIS, again, you want to reach out to your local county extension, which you're doing today, and then you can navigate to the Become a User, scroll down, and in your user group, you would be Extension Clientele. And so those images would be going first to Miami-Dade County, and then to, depending on if Miami-Dade County needed additional help from there, it may go to other specialists in the DDIS system. So Extension actually approves you as a user, and then you can start submitting samples. You know, in some counties, perhaps they do have Extension users directly submitting to others, but it really depends on the county. And it's also helpful for the county to know what's occurring. When you are seeing problems or issues, it's a good way to keep this as a database repository. So when you log into DDIS, you have your samples here. You can actually manage the samples you have submitted, view or revise submitted samples. And if you're the county extension educator, you're potentially providing that identification there on that sample. And you can also forward these samples to a specialist or refer a sample to an external specialist. We also have the official diagnostic laboratories where you can submit samples for identification. So on a statewide level, the official diagnostic laboratories are the ones in Gainesville for Plant ID, Arthropod ID, Lyle Bus, and Plant Pathogen ID, Carrie Harmon. And so you select the type of sample that you're actually submitting, and it's a really easy to use form. And then you input your name, your address, the locality. If you know the GPS coordinates, you can input that, but it's not required. And you place other information in the system about the sample. When you're thinking about a sample that you've taken a photograph of, you really want to take multiple images of the specimen. And if it's an insect, you may actually want to have some close-up images, perhaps even some images that you may take of the insect through your phone, through the microscope. So there's a few different ways that you can do that for insect samples in particular, and plant diseases. If you're thinking about a plant disease sample, you really want to describe the overall symptomology of the crop or how many plants have been affected. This kind of information can also be useful for insects to really understand that distribution of what's happening with the plant that is causing you to submit this sample. And then you add images. And here you get into the point of thinking about multiple images from perhaps different angles and making sure the images are clear and perhaps sufficient for diagnosis. In some cases, our insect identifier, Lyle Bus, will actually maybe ask you to take another image or an image from a different angle if he has any questions, or he might request that you submit a physical sample. It's always a good idea to retain that physical sample because you may need to submit it for formal identification if you're looking at an insect. So you send your sample to the extension agent first, and then as I mentioned, either the extension agent identifies your sample or it's moved on to a specialist, and then you receive an identification with additional information that's relative to management. And as I mentioned, plant pathogens are a little bit more challenging. Many plant pathogens, for example, many fungal infections that are plant pathogens, they may look very similar. Viral infections may have a very similar appearance, or something that's bacterial. And so really, to get it to the species level, a physical sample will be required for some of those laboratory test procedures that I mentioned earlier. So communicate with your local extension agent and your local plant diagnostic center to see if this is really warranted and necessary, because sometimes there is a cost involved. And so really appreciate your attention. I just wanted to emphasize again, links related to local county extension. This is hosted by Miami-Dade Extension, and we're already connected to local county extension here. But in Gainesville, we have our Gainesville Centers for Identification for Insects, include Wild Bus, and for plant diseases, Dr. Carrie Harmon. And I just also wanted to emphasize that sometimes we do have to report something that is exotic. Actually, if what you found is the first find in the state of Florida, it is actually state law, a legal obligation under statute 581.091 for that specimen to be reported. So then that has to be reported. That doesn't mean that regulatory action will always follow that reporting of that new pest, but it is actually illegal for us as University of Florida specialists not to report that if you send us something that is new to the state. And so there's an identification laboratory at FDACS as well. And here are some of the FDACS contacts associated with that. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. I think we are about to go into our interactive Build-A-Bug activity. Shannon, are we ready to go into that?
Yeah, I think so. What we're gonna split up back into our breakout groups, and we'll be going over Build-A-Bug. So it'll be a fun activity. I hope you all enjoy. And we'll have 25 to 30 minutes there, and then we'll have a short break before our next presenter.
All right, guys. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes talking about this lethal bronzing problem that we have it in Southeast Florida. And for me, it's heartbreaking. I mean, when you see this, this is A36. This is Nicholas Dodd from DOT checking some sables at the highway. I mean, and you see these sables dying. And, you know, many years ago, we thought that sables are bulletproof type of palm. They are, of course, native, and this is the state tree for us. And when you see these beautiful guys dying, I mean, this is it's a heartbreaking. So, Phoenix, I mean, Silvestris. I mean, Silvestris is a very common palm that we have it in the landscape. And you see the Silvestris also dying. Many growers are in bankrupt because many growers used to, you know, they used to grow Silvestris, and Silvestris are also very propense to this. This is a place I was yesterday visiting. I mean, you can see a sable dying over there. I'm pretty sure it's a lethal bronzing disease. So these guys, as we expect, I mean, they're coming. We show this in Texas in the 80s, and the first name was a Texas Phoenix palm decline. Everybody knows this was the first name that we have it, and we thought that this is originally coming from Mexico, from Yucatan Peninsula. We are close to Mexico. Many of the ecological characteristics of Yucatan Peninsula, we have it here in South Florida. And yeah, you bet, in 2006, in Hillsborough County, Tampa, showed the first symptom in sables. The plant hopper, you're familiar in the 70s, if you can remember little yellowing in the 70s, that the vector was Aplaxus crudus, it's a plant hopper. So the same plant hopper is the vector in this little bronze disease. So these are still work in progress. The guys at the Fort Lauderdale, Dr. Brian Bader is the main researcher doing research for this disease. The eyes opening was in this 2016 in West Palm Beach. I mean, if you're driving the turnpike, as soon as you hit Palm Beach, you're going to see many hundreds of sables dying over there. I don't know why Palm Beach is ground zero for this type of disease. And then the main organism that caused the problem is phytoplasma. Phytoplasma is like a bacteria, but they don't have any barrier. So it's a type of bacteria similar to bacteria. And the problem is that they attack natives. I mean, we recommend to plant natives because we think natives are bulletproof, but this is not the case anymore. So, and again, has killed thousands of sable palm in the West Coast and Tampa area, and here also in the East Coast. So this plant hopper is the vector, and it's very difficult to control. The nymphs are in the ground, in the roots mainly. You can find this in the litter, in the mulch, etc. They like moist sites more than dry sites. And for one reason, they like San Agustin grass. So San Agustin grass maybe is the perfect environment for this type of guys. The adults, they fly and they go to the foliage. So they can introduce the stellate over there, and they go through the phloem. In the phloem, then they inject the phytoplasma, and that's it. I mean, when the palm is injected with the phytoplasma, they're going to have the little bronzing, and they're going to die. So this is some picture of the hopper. They are very small guys, so you're not going to see it with your naked eye. Again, these stages are in the ground, and the adults is going to fly into the front. They don't fly too high, so if you have a very big palm, I mean, they are not going to reach the canopy. But a small palm, medium-sized palm, yeah, they have some problems. So I don't know. I remember Hurricane Wilma in 2005 because my roof was damaged. I need to change my roof. But if you see the track, I mean, you're going to see the track from the Yucatan Peninsula, Tampa area, and through Florida. So many times hurricanes, they bring more problems than losing your roof or your house. They also bring some insects. And I never, recognize this. Another possible way that the seeds go to us is through Mexico, through Texas, Louisiana, and to Florida. Remember the first little bronzing was in Corpus Christi in Texas. So maybe it's coming also from Texas. You know, many people are bringing material from Texas to Florida. So that's another possible route we have the problem. Well, the difference between LB or little bronzing and LY little yellowing is that LB is attacking the native plants. If you remember little yellowing, mainly they attacked exotic plants, exotic palms. This is not the case of little bronzing. And here you have it, Phoenix canariensis, Phoenix dactylifera, Phoenix sylvestris, in Live Estonia. They can get both little yellowing and little bronzing. So that's another problem over there. So when you see this, it's a healthy, beautiful sable, and here you can see the lower fronds are a little bit dead. This is a red flag for you guys to suspect little bronzing problems. And early detection is key, like everything, because the management when you detect a plant with early symptoms is the best time to do the management. Otherwise, too late. Queen palms. I don't like queens, but you can see also queen palms are dying in a very big numbers again, and all fronds are dead. So this is not a normal queen palm. You suspect that something is wrong over there. This is a queen palm, almost dead. And Phoenix, you can see here, I think maybe it's dactylifera, and these guys are very, very expensive. I mean, if you're going to plant a Phoenix dactylifera in your landscape, could be up to, you know, $7,000, $10,000. So this is very expensive. You can see here, the lower fronds are completely dead. So again, this is a tailgate that something is wrong. It's wrong here. And again, you can see here a sylvestris. We have possibility of Fusarium oxysporums or little bronzing. So you need to take a sample, send it to the lab to check for ID. Okay. This is also little bronzing. Again, this is a Phoenix Canary Island, Phoenix canariensis. You can see the old fronds are dying, and after the phytoplasma infect this area here, they're going to go into the new leaf. So you're going to see that the spare leaf is going to die. And this is the end of the palm, because the palm, remember, they have only one point of growth. This is the new leaf. If the spare leaf die, I mean, the whole thing is going to die. Again, you can see a sable. It's dead right now. And after, this is the final one, but you can go to see they drop all the dead fronds. We're going to see like a pole here. This is the trunk. And it's going to tell you that this sable die for little yellowing mainly. Right, Robilinis also. So you can see Phoenix are very, very susceptible. And here is very important photo because you can see the whole symptoms. So from here, from healthy one to here, could be 4 to 5 months. So it's very quick, very fast. So here you have healthy one. Here you can see some older leaves are dead already. And you can see the progression. So more older leaf, here, and here you can see, yeah, the spare leaf is dead already. So at the end, you're going to see only you know, the whole thing died. This is very important because if you're going to do some management, you need to do the management here at the first symptom. If you wait to do it here, maybe it's too late. So again, the first symptoms, early symptom is very, very important. These palm are more propense to reinfest or to infest more palms, like this one, because this one is already dead. So the phytoplasma is they need to have it lead tissue to survive. When the whole thing dies, the phytoplasma is going to die again. So so here again, this is the main stage that you need to do the management. Okay, why bronzing? Well, you're going to see this in the right, and this is a little tricky. You can see a little bronze color here, like a reddish type of color. So this is typically of bronzing. In the left, this is senescence. This is normal. So the old fronds are going to die because normal senescence. So this is normal for the palm. So you need to train your eye to recognize the difference in color. The red color is a little bronzing, and this one, like a brownish one, is normal, you know, senescent, normal cycle of the old fronds. So how you go into the treatment? Well, remember, you need to do OTC, or again, the same treatment that a little yellowing. These phytoplasma are very susceptible to antibiotics, so you really need to inject on the trunk OTC on antibiotic. The rate is very important, and Dr. Bader also is working on the rate because you need to inject more material than a little yellowing, and this still is a work in progress. But we are talking about 3 grams per injections for big palms, and you need to do a second treatment maybe 3 or 4 months later. So again, if the symptoms are you know, too far away, maybe it's too old to do the treatment. So in that case, you need to remove the palm as soon as possible. If you have it a very healthy looking susceptible palm, it's the best way to do the treatment. If you have it, let's see, in Miami Beach, they have a lot of very expensive canary or date. And if you suspect you have one of these susceptibles, you need to do the treatment as soon as possible. And dispose the infected palms as soon as possible, because if you have an infected palm material over there, the phytoplasma is active, and this the vector can transmit you know, the problem to other susceptible palms. Of course, more research is needed, and this is still a work in progress. Try to recognize this IDIS publication. This is sampling for little yellowing. Sampling is very important because many times you have a customer, you need to document that you have the problem. The best way to document that you have the problem is to send the sample. The samples, the lab can issue you a report, and with the report you can, you know, document that you have the problem. Sampling is very important, and there is a protocol to the sampling. So this IDIS publication, a fact sheet, is going to explain to you, you know, in detail how to do it. You need to submit some material, and the lab is going to do some DNA analysis. So the sampling has to be very clear, very clear. So the material that you submit to the lab is good enough to do the correct ID. So you need to drill inside the palm, inside the trunk, and you're going to collect some type of wood, and this wood material is the one that you're going to send to the lab. so they can do the DNA analysis. But here you can see they need to disinfect the bead with the torch. So disinfection is very important because you don't want to have cross contamination. So you collect the wood and you send this to the lab overnight. Has to be overnight, has to be as soon as possible. And after you have, let's say, get the positive results, you need to do the injection. So you are going to inject OTC here, like a little yellowing. But you need to be careful because you can see here they have some damage. Okay, so many guys they are doing they are injecting too much material, or they are injecting they are using the same site to do many injections, and as you can see here the damage on the tissue of the palm. So again, you send this to Fort Lauderdale. They charge $75, and you need to use overnight type of delivery. Try to maintain the sample on ice in a cooler. Don't put the sample in your dashboard with a hot summer, you know. So try to put it in the cooler with ice and send this overnight. You need to fill the form. It's very important. The company address, phone, email, etc. You need to put here if you're a commercial homeowner, public, what type of material you want to do, the number of samples, and any photo also is important. Send some photos. And again, they're going to run the DNA extraction, and they're going to issue you a report. I think I wrong a little bit here, but again, if you suspect that you have this, send me a photo or send a photo through DDIS, so we can take a look. Sometimes we can tell you, with the photo that yes, you have a high possibility to have the little bronzing, but other times you need to have a report. So you need to have this, you need to send the sample to the lab. That's it.
Thank you, Henry. If anybody has any questions, we can go ahead and put them in the chat, and Henry can answer them in the chat there. And it is really sad to see all these beautiful palms not looking too happy. Very sad. But we will go ahead and move on to our last presentation for today, and that's going to be Dr. Marco Shiavon, who will be talking about different types of turf diseases.
Great. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Marco Shiavon. I am the turf grass specialist at Fort Lauderdale Research and Education Center. Although my specialty is not really plant pathogen, I guess I am the only turf faculty here in South Florida. So I will be talking to you about the most common turf disease that you see around here. Fun fact, I am also working with Dr. Bader on the little bronzing. I am in charge of the part to see if the vector can be controlled in turf grass before it actually attacks the palm. So, turf diseases. Fungi definitely are the most common disease pathogen here. Now, I realize I should have included a slide with the pathogen triangle, but I guess you already talked about it. So for each disease to occur, you will need the right pathogen at the right time infecting the right host, right? So bottom line, turf diseases can occur in some species in Florida or in all Florida species. The first one I'll be talking to you is going to be gray leaf spot on St. Augustine grass. Why on St. Augustine grass? Because it's the only species that's affected in South Florida. If you have zoysia grass lawn, if you have Bermuda grass lawn, you will not see it. So don't think you have a gray leaf spot if you don't have St. Augustine grass. Still, St. Augustine grass, unfortunately, is the predominant species for Florida lawn, and it's also the one that's the most susceptible to any kind of disease out there. Gray leaf spot, let's start with gray leaf spot. The coloration you see around here, olive gray, are early symptoms that you see in St. Augustine grass. And these symptoms start being visible usually after heavy rains. This disease is mostly present from May until October in Florida. Therefore, if you are during wintertime and you see discoloration of your grass, most likely you don't have gray leaf, but something else. So you start seeing these lesions that eventually are going to affect the whole leaves of St. Augustine grass. And here is what you see, basically leaves getting chlorotic and eventually sclerotic, and they die. As I said, St. Augustine grass is the only warm season long grass affected by this disease, okay? So if you don't have St. Augustine grass, you are most likely, and you think you have a disease, most likely it's not gray leaf spot. As I said, it usually occurs typically from May until September. So it needs heavy rain. It needs relative humidity around leaves greater than 95%. And that happens only during the rainy season here in Florida. And it also needs temperature around 80 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Bottom line, we're starting now. So disease symptoms may start developing now. Now, also in St. Augustine grass, there are differences among cultivars. Floratam, which is the highest, the most common cultivar here in South Florida, unfortunately, is pretty successive. Seville is not that bad, but you won't see it much around here. Raleigh doesn't really grow around here. Palmetto will be a better choice compared to Florida. Floratam. If you don't want to have gray leaf spot insurgence, you try to minimize stress and avoid rapid flashes of growth. What does it mean? That if it rains or if it rained 48 hours prior and we had a significant rain, what do? You turn your irrigation system off. All fungi don't have legs, I can tell you that, and they move either by water or by wind, okay? So if you create conditions when you actually help the spread of the pathogen, meaning more water, then at that point you will have higher chances of infection. Second, and this is a big one, large patch, really common disease. You can recognize it because you will see the bottom part of the leaf that's basically rotten, okay? When you see it on top, usually starts as a circle of 1 foot diameter, and it can eventually spread out. They can become a really big problem, both in St. Augustine grass and in zoysia. You can see zoysia here. You can see it's really easy to spot because they are circles, and sometimes in zoysia you can even see a redder, more red circle circling actually the actual disease. These are newly infected leaves versus the older infection. Sorry, I forgot to ask you. Here, in these publications, for each disease, you can just type in the number of the publication, and if you want more, information, you can just go to the publication and read it. The symptoms are often confused with herbicide injury. How can you differentiate between large patch and herbicide injury? Well, large patch, the whole base of the leaf is going to rot and is going to turn brown. While if you have herbicide injury, it's going to be a more yellowish, reddish discoloration, and only at the really bottom of the leaves. Okay. When does it occur? Rhizoctonia solani has an interesting cycle. Here in Florida, here in South Florida especially, it occurs only in November to May. Okay, the temperatures need to be below 80 Fahrenheit. Usually in other states like North Carolina, it has a really interesting cycle because it attacks warm season turf species during the wintertime and cool season turf species during the summertime. Down here, we only have warm season turf species, so zoysia and St. Augustine grass are affected by it only during winter. So November, and we're going out of it right now. It has a distinct rotten smell. If you pick up the leaves, it literally smells like rotten. This disease loves, once again, too much water and too much nitrogen. That's a recipe for disaster if you fertilize too late in the season, and if in November, when precipitation are slowing down, you actually skyrocket your irrigation system. That's actually what you should avoid. And mowing can spread it. Now, the main problem with large patch is that it occurs when the grass is growing slowly. So the recover for the disease, it's gonna take longer because since it occurs November to May, the grass is slowing down a lot, and it's going to cure by itself basically during the springtime. If you want to use fungicides, you can. You can use heritage, you can use preventatives, or you can use curatives, but keep in mind that if you start seeing it during the wintertime, the grass is going to need warmer temperature to actually start producing new leaves. Another one is take-all root rot, and this is a huge issue. Why? Because, well, as the name says, this is a root disease, okay? The fungus is soil-borne, the disease is soil-borne, fungus stays on the soil, attacks root, and basically rot them out. The problem is, if the infection is not too hard, then you will never see symptoms on top. Okay, you will never see symptoms on the leaves. But if the infection is really hard, then at that point the whole root system collapses, which means you will not, the root system will not be able to pick up water and will not be able to pick up nutrients. And so what happens, you start seeing chlorosis on top, and there's basically nothing you can do about it, because if the root system is not functioning, the whole plant cannot function. And at that point, you will start seeing basically patches of bare soil, dead grass, which translates to bare soil on your lawn. Problem, all Florida lawn grasses are susceptible. St. Augustine grass, zoysia grass, even Bermuda grass, okay? All of them. Once again, excessive water and excessive nitrogen are going to accelerate the disease. Also, since your root system is not really working, you need to mow really consistently, and you need to raise your mowing height. Shorter mowing height by default, even without the disease, means shorter root system, okay? So if you have a disease on top of that, try to increase your mowing height and try to give your root system a little bit of a relief, okay? It occurs when nematodes and high pH are a problem. So if the grass is already stressed, then the fungi has a really good condition to attack the host. Unfortunately, fungicides alone will not control take-all root rot. What you need to do is you will probably, since your root system is not going to work, wait for the spring and try to fertilize with foliar soluble fertilizer. What kind of fertilizer should you use if you have take-all root rot? Definitely something that's more gentle rather than urea. So you should try to fertilize foliar with some kind of slow release fertilizer. And finally, this is the reason why basically I'm giving the talk. I wish I have better news for you, but it is what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We'll see where we go from here. So, sugarcane mosaic virus. Sugarcane mosaic virus per se has never been a problem of turfgrass. The sugarcane mosaic virus has been present in Florida since 1960s. And it's called sugarcane mosaic virus because it initially attacked sugarcane. From there, it spread through several different hosts, including St. Augustine grass, okay? All St. Augustine grasses are susceptible to sugarcane mosaic virus, and in the last 60 years, all St. Augustine cultivars have been attacked by sugarcane mosaic virus. The symptoms are really distinct. It's called mosaic because it creates a mosaic pattern on the leaves, okay? You can clearly see mosaic chlorotic pattern around here. Now, so far, I've been telling you that the mosaic virus has not really been a problem in turfgrass, but everybody is talking about, oh, my lawn got sugarcane mosaic virus and it died. The sugarcane mosaic virus is not the main reason your turfgrass is dying. Your turfgrass is dying because it developed lethal viral necrosis. What happened is, in 2013, an outbreak of disease occurred in Pinellas County, Florida, okay? Leaf symptoms included mosaic virus, but they started turning chlorotic, okay? They first started turning chlorotic. This happened in September, October. By the spring of 2014, the whole turf basically was killed. At first, people thought that it was a disease called St. Augustine decline, okay? St. Augustine decline is caused by a different virus. We collected samples, analyzed them, and there was no agent for St. Augustine decline, but yes, there was a sugarcane mosaic virus. Now, why these happen, why the lethal viral necrosis happened, we don't know yet. All we know is that at a certain point, St. Augustine grass affected by sugarcane mosaic virus developed a different disease, which is called lethal viral necrosis. And if you have it, that for sure is going to take your grass out. There is no chemical control as for now for lethal viral necrosis. If the grass starts developing it, give it 6 to 8 months, and most likely that's it. You will have to replace your grass. Now, we observe lethal viral necrosis on Floratam a lot. When Floratam develops lethal viral necrosis, it dies. Palmetto and bitter blue are more resistant. They get sugarcane mosaic virus, but they not always develop lethal viral necrosis. The new cultivar, Citra Blue, we don't want to make the claim yet, but in the last 3 years that's been grown, we have detected sugarcane mosaic in Citra Blue, but we have yet to see lethal viral necrosis in Citra Blue. Unfortunately, no chemical treatments are available. So if you have it, you need to replace your lawn with something that's more resistant. What we know for sure is that it spreads through mowers, okay? So if you have a landscape company coming to mow your lawn, you should make sure that they have disinfected their mowers if they're coming from another HOA or if they're coming from another place. Basically, the way that disease is spreading is landscape company mows some landscape that has it, go to another landscape that doesn't have it, but with the mower they spread it. What we know is that sanitizing the mowers really works. We know it with COVID as well. Sanitizing really takes care of viruses. So if they sanitize their mower blades, you shouldn't run the risk. If you mow your own grass, then you should be way more protected. Okay. And with this, I am done. And thank you very much. This is my Twitter. If you have Twitter, I usually post a suggestion on how to better manage your turf grass. And thank you very much to everybody. And I don't know how we handle questions, but I am done.
I was just going to say thank you so much. And I know in prepping for this workshop, I've been wandering around my neighborhood, walking my dog and inspecting everybody's lawns to see if I could spot any of these diseases. So that's been a fun game I've been playing. And if you do have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And we are going to move into our next and final activity, and we're going to actually talk about that disease triangle mentioned earlier in that talk. And so I think it's going to be a great fit and build off of this presentation.
Yeah, actually, this is going to be great. Before we do that, Shannon, I think I'm just going to ask you to quickly show what's in the bags and maybe post the survey information for them, and then maybe we will just conclude and encourage people to conclude with the breakouts because we are running close to time. So why don't you go ahead and tell them what they're getting for attending the session and show them the survey, and we'll conclude with the breakout.
Okay, let me go ahead and pull that up real quick.
And this will give everyone a few more minutes. If you have questions for Marco, you can place them in the chat while Shannon's pulling that up, and he can respond to those in the chat.
Okay, so up first is there's a poll that you can answer while I am talking. And that's going to be a couple questions. And then I also will post in the chat links to some Qualtrics surveys.
And we really appreciate everyone joining us today, and particularly Laura Vasquez and Henry Meyer for really leading this from Miami-Dade County. We have a really exciting activity after this that we're going to go to, and then we're going to conclude from the activity. But I just want to thank everyone for your time and attention. This has been a lot of fun talking to all of you today.
Yeah, so for today, we're going to provide you guys with a Florida Furze detector kit. It's going to come in this cute little green tote bag, and we're going to give you a invasive pest ID guide. So it'll be a fun little deck. And we're also going to be providing Henry and Laura vouchers for the Insect ID Lab and the Plant Diagnostic Center up here in Gainesville. So if you do have some interesting sample, you can contact them and they'll get you a copy of that. And then we're also going to give you guys a field sampling kit. It comes in this nice portable field ready fanny pack. And we've got hand lens, so you can look a little bit closer at the different insects or even any of the fungal diseases you might suspect. And then we'll have some sample vials, and we'll also give you a packing tube for that shipping so that if you put an insect or a vial in there, you can be sure that it won't be damaged over through shipping or anything like that. And then we're also trying to encourage people to submit an interesting sample. And so if you do, we are giving out the little microscopes that attach to the to your phone, and then you can it's really cool. It takes like a up close photo and turns your phone into like a little microscope. And then also one lucky winner who completes the attendance survey and the exit survey will go home with a UF IFAS extension hat. And so that I know that kind of threw a lot of things at you at once. There's 2 links in the chat for 2 surveys, and there's also that poll that should pop up. And they're all important. We all have kind of different questions here because we have a couple different groups of organizations. So we really appreciate you being able to fill out the poll and also the attendance surveys. And please fill out the attendance survey, especially if you want CEUs, because that's how we know you actually attended this workshop. So the attendance one is important, and then the exit one is also important for us to know how we can better improve this workshop. And we just really appreciate any feedback that you all can give us and how we can keep improving these workshops. And I say 10 minutes, that's being super generous. It only takes about 5 for them. Dr. Hodges, should we go ahead and open up the breakout rooms again?
Yes, I think so. And we'll actually conclude from the breakout. So thanks everybody for joining us again. And feel free to reach out to Shannon or I if you have any questions. Of course,
Excuse me.
Henry and Laura as well. Yes.
Excuse me. There are a couple of questions for the turf section. Should I answer now?
Okay. Yes, you can answer.
Yes. Because one is, will gray leaf spot persist and return in cool season from year to year? Yes. In fact, the best management for gray leaf spot would be preventative treating, strobilurin application. Now, the problem is these fungicides are regulated, so somebody with a spray applicator license must apply. Regular homeowner cannot apply them. And the second one is how long last these diseases in soil? If I change my turf, I have some possibilities that can be reinfested. Absolutely. Spores in soil can last really long time. But the thing is, if you have Floratam, which is susceptible to anything, and you replace it that is with a different host that is not susceptible, that is resistant to diseases, you have the pathogen, but you don't have the right host, and therefore you will not see the disease. That's the good thing of switching to a grass that's more disease resistant.
Thank you so much, Marco. And with that,
No problem.
We really appreciate, Marco, your presentation. We thank all the speakers, but now we're going to move on to our exciting breakout. So thanks to our breakout leaders and everyone for participating. It's going to be fun. We're really going to think more about the turf diseases right now.